You put them on your mouth already? There they are.
No, I just got it.
So the plumbing went truth serum.
No.
Is it like...
Was that the only moment we saw a flash of Chandler being real? It's funny because it's true, and the truth is that he needs some truth serum right now. All right, let's talk some more about Chandler Halderson, the young man from Wisconsin who shot his father and mother when they were unraveling a web of lies that included his fake job with SpaceX, the fact that he wasn't really in college, and who knows what else. Let's talk more about the lies he's coming up with during the police interrogation and about narcissistic facades in general. So in the first video I made about Chandler Halderson, one thing that I didn't think of when I was watching this interrogation for the first time was why he had this aside about the big green egg grill making smoky food. You know, he seemed to want to disparage his father for making these bad foods. But it seemed curious to me why this was such an important point for him to make to the officer interrogating him. And, you know, I have to admit, I'm sorry I don't read all comments on the channel. You know, typically what I do is I read the sort of first round of comments to get a sense of how I'm doing, right? I want to get better at making videos. I check the analytics. Sometimes I do catch a comment later on, and there was one that I thought was really insightful on this Chandler Halderson video. And it was at Daisy W. Rabbit, or I don't know if that's Daisy Rabbit. And she said, I did find it interesting that he brought up the smokiness of the green egg grill. When I watched the interview with his girlfriend, she said the house smelled smoky. My theory was that he mentioned the green egg being smoky to explain why the house smelled smoky, when it was actually smelling that way because he burned body parts in the fireplace. And of course, that is what he was trying to do. He was trying to burn parts of his parents in the fireplace. That was why he had to explain the broken glass, because of the explosive reaction in the fireplace. I need to give this a love. I think this is exactly right. This is right on the money. I did not realize it before, but thank you for pointing that out, Daisy Rabbit. Here is that part again, and it's very interesting the way he actually catches himself first saying that his dad doesn't cook. Again, he does seem to like disparaging his father, even when he's ostensibly missing. It's like, oh, dad gets mad at us when we don't have food ready. And you'll hear the police interrogator almost trying to get a little buy-in, say, well, does he ever cook food? Which is a good strategy because he wants to encourage Chandler to express any frustrations or conflicts between he and his father because he's looking for a motive. So Chandler's going to say, Dad was mad at us because we didn't have food ready. The police officer says, does Dad ever cook? And Chandler says, no, I've never seen him cook. Then, oh, he grills. Actually, he grills. He grilled on Thursday. And then we'll hear about the smoke. And indeed, this is a perfect cover story in Chandler's mind for why the house was smoky. I didn't even realize it when I knew the facts of the case afterwards. So let's watch this again.
Stuff like that. We just microwave whatever was in the fridge, I suppose.
Yeah. Who was upset about that?
Dad.
Dad was? Okay.
He usually doesn't like that. He likes the wouldn't cook.
Okay. Okay. Does he ever cook?
I haven't seen him cook. Oh, he grills. He likes to grill. He grilled on Thursday.
Does he ever cook? I've never seen him cook. Oh, he grills. He grilled on Thursday. Right, and what else happened with the grill?
I think I told one officer the green egg. He got it makes terrible food, but
I think I told one officer. I think I already used this cover story once, and so if it lines up, that's why. It's because it's a true thing that I say.
Yeah.
Dad does?
Yeah. Oh, the green egg.
The green egg. That's like a grill or something?
Yeah, it's insulated and makes everything smoky.
Oh, okay.
Boom. He mumbles everything, but he can emphasize that word. Makes everything smoky. So that would explain it, he's thinking. If there's any other reports, if the neighbors were saying, hey, it's strange that there's a smoke smell permeating the air in July, he doesn't know who's reported that the house has been smoky. He probably knows his girlfriend came over and said, why is it Smoky in here? Maybe that's when he first came up with the story, and now anytime he can, he's going to tell an officer about the green egg making smoky food. All right, so let's skip ahead to Saturday. By his account, on Thursday, if there was smoke, it was because his dad was grilling. Thursday is actually when he shot his parents. Friday is the day his parents supposedly left with friends he didn't know to go to the cabin. Now we're at Saturday, and he's going to talk about how his anxiety was getting high, and so he asked for some space so that he could just play Escape from Tarkov.
Kind of having the anxiety and all of that, like getting a little frustrated with myself and all of that. Like it wasn't too bad until like last week Tuesday when I started noticing it. And
it started
Saturday
last week Tuesday.
Was like the peak.
Peaked on Saturday.
It's kind of stayed out like this.
Okay. Peaked anxiety and
this kind of like set me like to ask for some space, and I just kind of gamed Saturday. Couldn't tell you when I went to bed. I think I might have even stayed up till 2. Yeah. Yeah, it's just the same game, Escape from Tarkov. I couldn't get a hold of any of my friends to play with, unfortunately. I played like some here and there from Discord, but none would like stick around for that late in the night.
Sure.
Then we get to Sunday. It's the 4th. The morning, I'm a little worried about my family. I think I called my mom. Oh, throughout I've called, I don't know the times though.
So he knows he's supposed to be worried about his family. Why would he be worried about him? Oh, because I was calling them, I guess, and I hadn't heard from him. I don't know what times I was calling them, but I know Sunday I tried.
Throughout the weekend, I mean. But I called my mom, I believe, in the morning or along those lines, and I get a text from her. It was a text message. It wasn't even an iMessage, so I assumed. She said White Lake today. So she sent it that day. I couldn't figure out where she was. Because it was a text, there was no iMessage. So I kind of just like left it at that. They're safe, they're alive. Then...
Now, what actually happened was he had texted his own phone from his mom's phone. He's presenting this like he was curious about the location, but he couldn't figure out the location because it was a text message rather than an iMessage. Of course, if there was location data that was normally sent with that, he would have turned that off. But you see his acting here.
Gets to the afternoon. I'm talking to Dan. I call him up and I ask him, well, what he's doing. Or maybe that was the morning, but I called Dan that Sunday, asked him what he's up to, if he wanted to hang out. I don't like being alone at the house very well.
Dan is mom's coworker / friend?
Yeah, he's this guy. Go over there he invited me for fireworks in his driveway. Throughout the day, the dogs, it's just me and the dogs, the fireworks, and the dogs are like running around and into things. I'm trying to keep them okay. All they're doing is knocking stuff over, spilled their water. They haven't eaten. They won't go outside for me. Even on a leash, I couldn't get them out. So
again, he's talking so slowly through all of this. You know, it almost feels like I slowed this down, but I'm watching it at, 1x speed. I don't have a baseline exam to compare this to, but this seems like a slowed rate of speech. I don't think it's because of his supposed traumatic brain injury, which, as I said before, there was no structural damage evident on a CT scan. There was nothing other than his own subjective reports that even led to that diagnosis. I think it's because he's having to simultaneously consider the actual facts. So like his contact with this coworker, Dan, that may be a real thing that happened. And he's having to combine what really happened, the things that are real, with the things that he's making up or has made up already. So he's trying to keep the lies straight, and he's trying to accommodate reality as much as possible with the lies. And so trying to keep these multiple things straight. What if I said before, what do I need them to believe, and what actually happened? It's actually pretty hard to keep these separate threads all compatible enough to make sense. So he really struggles to make sense of this. He struggles a lot with the timeline, and he just goes so slowly because he's having to do all these calculations. And you can see the concentration in his face to not say anything wrong, to give them the little bits of reality. And that's why it's almost so comforting for him when he has bits of reality that he can just lean into. They're totally banal facts because the important stuff is all the stuff he has to lie about. But he'll go into great detail about like the dogs and the fireworks because it's like, oh, phew, here's something that I can just say based on what happened that's not going to be self-incriminating or anything like that. But what it ends up looking like is this absurd level of detail about things that don't matter at all to someone who would realize the point of this investigation.
What was the deal with that?
Fireworks.
Oh, the fireworks are spoofing them so much.
Yeah, all day.
Gotcha.
So I put them both into the Ford, cranked the TV.
Did that seem to help at all with them?
Yeah, the loud TV helped. Rizzo doesn't like.
Great.
Maybe does like.
That's great.
New Girl, the TV show. So we watched that. It's the theme song that gets her. I think she barks. So we watched that.
He finally gets a little chuckle from the police officer, which I feel like he really has wanted that a lot. Saying things like noon 30, as I talked about in the first video. You know, I do think he wants this social validation, even on the smallest scale, which is like people thinking he's clever enough to chuckle. That's the sort of smallest scale validation. And you can almost see the transient pleasure in his eyes.
Did that seem to help at all with them?
Yeah, the loud TV helped. Rizzo doesn't like, or maybe does like New Girl, the TV show, so we watched that. It's the theme song that gets her, I think. She barks. So it was Sunday. Right, Sunday evening, Kat comes by to help me with the girls.
So she wasn't there during the day?
No, it was just me and the dogs. She left Sunday morning.
Okay.
From the... No, she left Saturday morning because I spent Saturday by myself.
I see that.
And then Sunday, it was just me and the girls till whenever Kat got there. We didn't eat together, I don't think.
He can't keep it straight. At this point, he can't keep it straight. But the interesting thing is, we'll see him fit in this excuse of the TBI again. He'll talk about how his memory has been suffering ever since, right? Let's skip to that, because this is going to be how he wraps up the fact that this interrogation went terribly for him. He's going to wrap it up in this bow of memory issues.
Doing stuff.
Dad just went to one.
Yep. And then later that week, I had my fall. And I just started getting my memory back.
Okay.
So...
He just started getting his memory back. So that's why, I'm able to remember some of this stuff because it's just coming back. But if it's foggy, you know, what can you say? I fell down the stairs and I sustained a head injury, a TBI. It makes me wonder, is it possible that all along the TBI was intentionally the first step in a cover story? Because let's say at some point he realizes there's no way for me to get out of this web that I've weaved. One possibility is that the TBI was the first attempt to get out of the web, to excuse himself from going down to Florida to work for SpaceX, and to buy him time to see if he could still somehow get out of this college situation. The fact that he hadn't actually been taking classes despite his parents paying for his college. He had been making all of these fake emails of supposed school administrators. Maybe that would work out with just a little more time. So that's all one possibility. The TBI was the first attempt and that didn't work. The second possibility is that the TBI was going to be this entire condition that might enable him to commit this murder. Because one of the things that he is relying on it now to do is to say, if my memory of events isn't good, it's not because I'm lying, it's because I had this TBI. Now, that would take actually an incredible amount of forethought. I mean, I've never heard of anyone else essentially coming up with a factitious brain injury because they already knew that they wanted to commit a violent crime and have some kind of thing to lean on to soften the investigation into them. But it would indicate that actually the murder plan had happened a long time ago. I would have to say it would be reasonably clever to say, what can I do to make it so that my testimony is sort of naturally less trustworthy or less structured? Could I self-induce a memory deficit that would hold up in interrogations? I don't know that I think it's likely that he had this level of forethought, but I think it's possible. All right, let's go back.
You ever have your legs kind of... Yeah,
No, I haven't.
it's just... I don't even know if they're done getting like as bad as they can be yet, so
Yeah.
that's not fun.
And I think you were telling me last night it's a symptom of a concussion, right?
So
Is that right?
that's not it. It's a symptom of nerve damage from the hit to my
Oh,
spine, so it's
okay.
permanent.
Okay, I understand that now better.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was never diagnosed with nerve damage from a hit from his spine. He was diagnosed with a concussion based on what he described in the ED, and now he's kind of combining maybe things that happened in the ED, like getting the neck brace, or maybe someone, maybe doing an X-ray of his cervical spine to rule out that there was nerve damage from the canal there. He wasn't being treated for this. He wasn't following up. From anything I can see, he wasn't following up with a neurologist or an orthopedic spine surgeon. He was inventing this story. But again, if he wanted to make himself less of a suspect, having physical damage, having things like, I can't walk upstairs, it's like, well, how could I commit a murder then, right? If he had done this intentionally, he would have a cover story that now actually included memory impairment, which may make his witness testimony naturally wonky, to use a technical term. He would have anxiety, I think he's also blaming on it. So if he seemed jumpy with investigators, it's not anxiety because he's guilty, it's anxiety because of this TBI, post-TBI symptom. And physically, he's someone who doesn't have the capacity to even go upstairs, he's saying. So would he have the capacity to commit a murder? So whether it was intentional or not, he's certainly relying on it a good bit now. He is hopeful that this all coalesces to make him less of a suspect. But I think there may be a very cold and calculating element to this. Why am I talking about narcissism and not antisocial personality or psychopathy? Well, both narcissistic personality disorder and antisocial personality disorder are marked by a lack of empathy. And so the cold and calculating nature of it doesn't really distinguish between narcissistic or antisocial. The things that speak to a narcissistic motive are the circumstances of the facade crumbling, right? Is he someone who would thrill kill, like a psychopathic serial killer, a sadistic antisocial personality? I don't think he's someone who would thrill kill. I don't think that was the motive here. I think it was purely cold and calculating, such that he wasn't getting significant positive emotions from it. He was essentially avoiding the negative emotions that were going to come with the narcissistic injury, which was, the exposing of his lies that he was living. So his motives were about the facades. And for the narcissist, maintaining the facade is on the level of a survival instinct, right? You and I think we need food and water to survive, but really we don't even think that. We just know it unconsciously. We know what we need to survive, and we don't have to think about it because it is so instinctual. For someone whose ego relies on narcissistic supply, social glory, if their ego relies on narcissistic supply to remain intact, it's going to be on the same level of an instinctive urge, because their self, what they're identifying with as their self, as their existence, is the narcissistic facade. And so if it's destroyed, if the facade is destroyed, they believe that is death, but they don't even think about it. They just instinctively know this, in the same way that we instinctively know we need food and water. I would die. I would die if this was exposed. That's what it's going to feel like. It's not even thought about. It's an unconscious survival drive. Now, I think it's also a sign of narcissism in itself to believe that you're going to be able to manipulate everyone else's reality into believing these lies that you're spinning. Most people don't lie. Most people don't lie all the time. And a major factor in most people not lying all the time is knowing that that's wrong, not wanting to do that because we want to live real lives, genuine lives. But most people also aren't so self-assured that they would think that they could just make stuff up out of whole cloth and other people would believe it. Like, what kind of person actually believes that they're going to be able to lie their way out of extreme situations like this by coming up with stories on the fly? It's a bit of a delusional, perhaps, but it is narcissistic as well.
Upstairs to the kitchen, and it's still going, and I'm trying to get my foot in the sink just to slow it down and pinch it maybe.
So one example of him spinning lies out of whole cloth is when he starts being questioned about why there would be blood in the house. One story he already had was that his foot was bleeding because when he threw a ball and it led to an explosion of the glass in the fireplace, one piece impaled his foot. Now, I think he did have a cut on his foot. He may have stepped on glass when he was cleaning up. I don't know how it actually happened. But the story in itself, that he threw a ball when he was playing with the dog, and that led to such a shattering of the glass that it was everywhere, it was all over the dog's back. I mean, that's a bizarre story in itself. But if he just thought he had to explain why there was a lot of blood around, well, he can use the sort of the part of reality that is his foot having a wound, and he can say, well, it kept bleeding, so there could be blood all over the place. I was walking around, I was having to wash it out. The officer is going to get to, what about your parents' blood? And then he'll immediately come up with these cover stories for that as well.
And then I waddle upstairs to the eye factor, the first aid kit. And once I got it kind of bundled up, it stopped for what I know. Then I go I need to get some tape. We have a tape box in the basement. I go there and I opened it up again. I bled a little bit more, but the basement was easy to clean. It's just cement. There's a little bit of water, and I raked that up. But
So that could be real, right? That's a real part. He can say confidently the basement is easy to clean because it's cement.
I grabbed the tape box and I wrapped it.
Did you do anything to, so I wrote down on Tuesday that you tried getting the glass cleaned up in the basement, tossed it in the glass and recycling. Did you clean up at all when it actually happened?
No, my dad was furious. So he did stuff.
To clean it?
Yeah, I don't know what he did. But he sent me to my room upstairs and he did whatever he did, but it still was on the floor after he was done.
Okay. Did your dad get injured at all when the glass broke? Did he step on any of
He sent me up, but I don't doubt it. When he gets mad, he's not thinking.
So we don't know if your dad got hurt.
No.
Okay.
No. But my best guess is that guy reached in the fireplace and cut his arm or something. I don't know.
First, Chandler is going to talk about how he was cleaning up rag after rag of his own blood. It essentially sounds like, he was cleaning up a very bloody scene, and the paper towels could be all over the place. Some could be in the regular trash, some could be in his car trash.
So cleaning up the blood, we just got the Swiffer and the hydrogen peroxide.
Just kind of smeared it around. There's another thing. Paper toweling. Yeah, just that. Okay. And then there's, I don't know.
Where did all those paper towels go? Just in the trash?
Yeah. Some just everywhere. My car trash, in my trash.
They ended up in the car trash?
There's a bag in the car that I carried around. It's a car trash.
Oh.
They ended up in the car trash? It is. The police officer is... I really appreciate the subtlety with which he asks these questions. He doesn't sound indignant. He sounds curious. They ended up in the car trash?
It's like a gallon bag. That's more portable than the garbage can. So, yeah, bloody rag after bloody rag, just trying to get it all up. And, I don't know, it was a lot. I didn't feel sick, so it couldn't have been that much, right?
Yeah, you didn't lose enough to pass out or anything. Is there any reason to believe mom or dad's blood would be somewhere in the house?
Is there any reason it would be your parents' blood? This is such a surreal situation, too. He's in this interrogation room. He's talking about cleaning up a very bloody scene. The interrogator is asking him then, why would it be your parents' blood, by chance? And Chandler is still going to spin these stories. He's going to come up with why his parents also just happen to bleed profusely.
Is there any reason to believe mom or dad's blood would be somewhere in the house? Have they been injured at all that you're aware of?
Well, my dad scratches his psoriasis till he, gushes blood.
There's a moment where Chandler registers how significant this question is. He seems to freeze for a second when he's asked if there's any reason his parents' blood would be in the house. But during that freeze, he comes up with some stories.
Is there any reason to believe mom or dad's blood would be somewhere in the house? Have they been injured at all that you're aware of?
Well, my dad scratches his psoriasis till he, gushes blood.
Okay. Gushing, describe gushing to me.
Enough to run down your leg, like cover your leg, I suppose. Like he has it on his knee. So when he does this, it just like drips down.
He scratches his psoriasis enough to cover his leg in gushing blood. It seems like his psoriasis is not well controlled. The fact that Chandler doesn't think this is bizarre, I think is notable. Imagine having a rash, an itchy rash, and scratching it to the point that your leg is covered in blood. That it's gushing off of your leg is covered. But he's apparently so used to doing this that it's like the tolerance that we see in pharmacology is happening with his own reaction to his lies. He's built up a tolerance to where he can come up with stories that don't really even register to him as being absurd, completely absurd.
I ask him to stop, but he doesn't do it when he's stressed out.
Yeah.
He just kind of like, it's his tick.
Yeah, probably itches. Does he,
It sounds like a horror show. Your dad is walking around with his leg covered in blood because he won't stop scratching?
does it enough to get on the floor? Does it leave?
Oh, yeah.
Like how much?
Oh, yeah.
Like, before we were talking the water bottle lid.
Of course, it's all over the floor. My house is always covered in blood because of this.
And the Yeti lid, is there, I mean, like, are we talking puddles like that, or just ribbons, or?
It could be enough.
Okay.
But I'm thinking, yeah, you lit if he's there and I don't catch him soon enough.
Oh, jeez.
My mom's blood, just from her bloody noses she gets sometimes when she wakes up. That's why we've been doing the dehumidifier.
So he comes up with a story of his father's blood, the psoriasis, and then for his mom, just the fact that she has profuse nosebleeds all the time.
Humidifier and dehumidifiers.
Yeah. Probably downstairs, you get the...
We have to do multiple of them, but she can't be in the living room too long because that's a dehumidifier. And if she does, her nose gets bad. Not like a regular one, she gets it bad.
Unless they both have severe hemophilia or another bleeding disorder, it's ridiculous to think there would be puddles of blood from these stories. But he's just going with it.
Bloody noses, are we talking, it's just spraying around, is it just dripping?
Well, it's not squirting, but it's just
enough to
dripping, and she doesn't notice it.
Okay.
She can't feel it anymore.
Okay. Is there any reason to believe that in either one of their vehicles there would be any of their blood?
Their vehicles?
Yeah. Or anybody's vehicle, let's say that.
Maybe car trash. Mom's car trash.
This is actually a bit of a tell. So the officer asks, is there any reason there'd be blood in either of their vehicles? And Chandler says, their vehicles? Why would he be surprised that the question is about their own vehicles? So the officer then corrects him, anybody's vehicles, let's say that. But I think this was a miscalculation on his part. He shouldn't have been surprised that the question was about their vehicles, but in fact, he is maybe surprised that the question wasn't about his own vehicle, where he may have been transporting the bodies. But so that was a slip up, I would say, that he was surprised by that.
Are we talking, is there any reason to believe that in either one of their vehicles there would be any of their blood?
Their vehicles?
Yeah. All right.
So they bleed all the time, according to Chandler. Is there any reason their blood would be in their vehicles? Their vehicles?
Anybody's vehicle, let's say that.
Maybe car trash. Mom's car trash would definitely the past few days. My dad's car trash.
Why would they have blood in their car trashes?
Well, my mom does the bloody noses with the air conditioning, so
Oh, okay.
when we have air conditioning, my mom will have to use bring towels and stuff because in the hot days you can't have your windows open. You won't drive well.
Yeah.
So air conditioning, my mom will have nosebleeds. My dad hasn't had them as much as she does, but he gets them.
Okay.
His are worse than my mom's.
So again, it is a narcissistic assumption to think that you can make other people believe whatever lies you tell them, as if you have this, Jedi mind trick power to just warp people's reality, to get yourself out of whatever situation with a lie. I would say it starts with that predisposition towards thinking you can get away with everything and that you're entitled to get away with everything. So why not just lie and make people believe whatever you want them to? But I think there's also the tolerance aspect to where the lies start feeling less and less bizarre to you because you're so used to doing it. And there's also a conditioning aspect where it's reinforced. If you have been successful in getting the other people in your life to believe your lies, each time they believe it and you get out of a situation, it's reinforced. So you're more likely to do it again. It's like a classical conditioning paradigm. And in his case, I think we do have evidence that up until his father started really investigating his school transcripts, everyone in his life believed it. Everyone in his life believed all of his lies. He really had not been caught up until this catastrophic catch that led to all of this. But, even his girlfriend, who seemed to be incredibly close with him emotionally, that she even uses the word codependency. Even she, at the time of these interrogations, believes that he had the SpaceX job. She'll say during her interrogation, like, he has SpaceX. She'll be talking about it as if it's a real thing because she's always believed it's a real thing. Similarly, she seems totally convinced during her initial interrogation that Chandler had nothing to do with this. Of course it wasn't him.
It just sits there, like, wearing my parents like a shell. And, he talked to you when we first came here. Like, he was like, do you have any news? Like, like, I texted him through, he's like, they haven't heard anything. Like, the cabin's empty. Like, he won.
And so the facade that he has made that was starting to crumble is something that he took desperate measures to protect. His girlfriend is still believing that facade, as far as I can tell, until the actual trial. I certainly imagine it was sort of mentally catastrophic for her that there was a sort of irreversible damage done to her trust. Because just, can you imagine believing that someone, an intimate partner on this level, and finding out that nothing about it was true, and in fact, he was a murderer.
You don't think he had anything to do with his mom and dad being unheard from?
No. No. All my friends I've talked to, they're like, no, not Chandler, no. Like, that'd be crazy. Sorry, I sound very monotone right now, but just no. No. Mm-mm.
No.
No.
Not a mean bone in his body?
Well, everyone has a mean bone. Even says Mother Teresa was a dick sometimes, but I just don't see him killing Mr. and Mrs. Halderson. He had SpaceX. Why would he jeopardize something he, would dream of, they're his parents. For Christmas, they got him and his brother matching tool sets. Come on. He cooks dinner for them. They have root beer floats together. They play Mario Kart whenever his parents want to.
So, I mean, she's coming up with these kind of random examples, but they're all reflecting the fact that it's impossible. I can't even entertain the thought. And what she's trying to say is he's normal. He's not crazy, and the family's normal. So it's impossible. So she comes up with these sort of random examples, but I believe her countenance reflects the fact that she can't even entertain the idea. She can't conceive of it. It is still bizarre to her at this point.
Mitchell,
Yeah, he's
a leaf in the wind.
Okay, and so his brother Mitchell wouldn't have done it either, is what she's saying there. I'm not going to go too deep into Kat. I don't think, I feel like I'm going to sort of limit to the sort of criminal psychology aspect, but the consequences of having lived this facade can resonate out and include certainly anyone that's in a relationship with a person that's done this. It is just a very unsettling thing to realize that someone you thought you knew was a complete fabrication. It's like, sort of like real life catfishing. Catfishing is something that really can only happen with the internet, where someone might believe that they're building a relationship with a person that turns out to be a fake profile, and that's certainly very upsetting. This is in real life. You're interacting with the person that has the appearance of this person. It's them, but you were interacting with something that was entirely fake. And you were telling them your secrets. You were interacting with them like they were a real person, and you were being a real person. I think it has an irrevocable effect on trust going forward, or at least very difficult to revoke. Time perhaps heals all wounds. People can relearn to trust. I think there's a scar that is permanent.
As far as up at the cabin, when do you think the last time you were up there?
Personally, last year,
Last year.
Memorial Day, I believe. I think it wasn't the weekend before Memorial.
When do you think the last time your mom or dad were at the cabin before?
My dad went when my brother was diagnosed with diabetes.
When was that?
The weekend before my concussion, so 1, 2, 3. Well, not including this week, 3, 4. Yeah, 4. 4 weeks.
June of this year? 3-4 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Okay.
He went out, noticed our plumbing's gone to crap, and he bought a new set or something at a flea farm or Home Depot, or it's like something.
For the cabin?
Yeah, for the cabin.
It's for like a toilet or?
Yeah, we have a toilet up there actually now.
Yeah, you want to ask for him?
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Cool. What did you say?
I got it, those, that work?
Yeah. I was like, I thought you said Adderall.
No, I don't
No,
know.
not that. Just Advil. Just over the counter stuff.
Thank you.
Like 3 of them work?
Yeah. Appreciate it.
You better know what the hands are on that.
Thanks, Tim.
Just the Advil on them, right? You put them on your mouth already? There they are. No, I just got it.
So the plumbing went to crap.
No.
Is it like,
Was that the only moment we saw a flash of Chandler being real? I mean, it was a joke, but for a moment he let his guard down enough to make a reality-based joke. A reality-based joke. Truth serum. That was his joke, that they gave him something that the officer was joking about it not really being Advil for his headache. And Chandler says, I just took truth serum. And for a moment, he actually seemed enlivened. We've only been dealing with this sort of flat, be careful how you react, be careful what you say sort of person. But he lets himself make this joke that is about the fact that he's lying. It's very interesting.
Ask for him.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Advil. Cool. What did you say?
I got it, those, that work?
Yeah. I was like, I thought you said Adderall.
No, I don't
No,
know.
not that. Just Advil. Just over the counter stuff.
Thank you.
Like 3 of them work?
Yeah. Appreciate it.
You better know what the hands are on that.
thanks, Tim.
Just the Advil on them, right? You put them on your mouth already? There they are. No, I just got it.
So the plumbing went to crap.
No.
Is it like, the the sink, or it's
The fact that he becomes enlivened, it's like comic relief. It says something about the need of the human psyche to break the seriousness sometimes. Like why is comic relief necessary in sad movies? It's because none of us can tolerate a sustained negative emotion for that long. We need you have to have comic relief. And so I think he actually can't sustain this, one, artifice of being flat and lying, and two, just the negative emotions he's experiencing in this. He can't help himself but break the mold here and engage in some comic relief. It's actually kind of a funny joke that he would be given truth serum disguised as Advil. It's kind of, it's not a bad joke. It's terrible that it's funny under the circumstances, because the reason it's funny, like all humor, the fact that it's funny lies in the fact that it's true. It's funny because it's true. And the truth is that he needs some truth serum right now.
toilet, or what was it with the plumbing that went bad?
So when we have to pour water in every time we go up to start the pump.
Oh, okay.
So some reason by pouring water in, the water never rose in the toilet bowl, apparently. So you couldn't flush it, the water didn't come to the toilet.
Mm-hmm.
So you need a new thing to stop whatever the problem was, I think, leaking. I don't know, I didn't hear everything from him.
Sure. How did he find out about that?
He?
Yeah. How did he know that there was a plumbing issue up there?
Well, he went up there just to go see the cabin.
Oh, so when he went up a couple weeks ago, he realized an issue. This time he wanted to fix it.
Well, he fixed the major issue, so it won't be flooding the house,
Okay.
the cabin. No.
Is this a lie? I couldn't find, when I just briefly Googled whether the father really did go up to the cabin 3 weeks before the weekend in question. Sorry, I don't actually know if that's true or not. What I think I recall is that there was still a major plumbing issue in the cabin. So the idea that, like, the fact that they had gone up there for the weekend already struck people as strange, because, like, the plumbing wasn't even working in the cabin, like, as if who knows when the last time someone went up there was. And so this may be a cover story for Chandler to explain why would they have gone up to this remote cabin that didn't even have working plumbing on the July 4th weekend. Maybe his reasoning right now is, well, they were fixing the plumbing because Dad had checked on it 3 weeks before.
He wanted the pipe set to redo it.
Okay.
Because we need new pipes because they're lead. And I think we might be moving to plastic
Sort of
because there's no water heat.
choking on his words a little bit.
Yeah.
I think because he's sort of so far gone in this interrogation, nothing has gone well for him. He's learning that the police probably know a lot more than he thought they knew. They were asking him pointed questions about the blood. At this point, he doesn't even know which lies he's capable of telling because they may know additional things. And so he's almost just struggling physically to get the words out of his throat.
I'm trying to figure out what that part was. But that was when Mitch, diabetes, the number one.
Did Mitch go up there with him? When you know,
Well, my mom and I were kind of with Mitch all that weekend doing stuff.
Dad just went along.
Yep. And then later that week, I had my fall. And I just started getting my memory back.
Okay.
So,
Where did his mom been up there this year at all?
Mom has not been up there this year. Maybe they were up there before. No, I think Dad did it all himself, maybe. I think this is first.
And Mitch hasn't been in the cabin in a while, right?
Today?
Oh, well, other than today.
Yeah, I couldn't say he's been there. He didn't go last year.
Okay.
It's kind of, opposite side of town. You know how it is with brothers.
Yeah.
He flew the coop.
Got a few of them myself.
Yeah.
All right.
I've started thinking about that myself, and my parents are trying to figure that out with me.
Okay.
We got all the background, I think, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So I think it's time to start talking about what happened to your parents, like the truthful version.
Okay.
Okay? So we have like 20 pages of writing.
Interesting that this comes not long after the truth serum joke. They decide it's time to switch. You're going to switch their orientation towards Chandler. They're going to say, let's start talking about what happened, the truthful version.
We're going to start with a clean white piece of paper for you to start telling the truth.
Okay. What?
Because listen to me. This is the only chance you're going to have to tell us the truth. Okay?
What?
Listen. I can't tell you what we know, but we know you're not telling us the truth. We know your parents are no longer with us. Okay? And we know the reason why. Okay? You need to tell the truth. Listen. You need to tell the truth about what happened and just tell us why it happened. Okay? If something happened, if you were defending yourself, or if you just got fed up with stuff, you need to tell us the truth. Okay? This is your chance to tell us why. Okay? I'm not BSing you. Okay? So can we do that?
Okay, they're okay.
Okay, so right now, he's got to think about his strategy. He was not expecting this turn. They took this turn. What's he going to do?
Say lawyer. Okay. Because they're.
You want to learn?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Let's write it down. Tell me where it's about 6:41.
So after an hour and 40 minutes of thinking he's going to be able to explain his way out of this with stories made from whole cloth, he says, lawyer. I do think there was a moment where he was wondering if he could switch his story in a way that was believable but still didn't implicate him. But no, he threw in the towel. Sort of the least bizarre thing he's done this whole time, actually, is ask for a lawyer.
You're under arrest. Okay?
What happened? Okay.
You know what happened. We're not going to tell you what happened. You know what happened. You were there when it happened. We're not BSing you, okay?
That happened.
We know more than you think we know. There's people that have told us things. We have evidence, we have proof that more has happened. Okay. So your parents never made it to the cabin, and I think you know that. Okay. So you're asking for an attorney. We're not going to ask any more questions.
Sam.
Go stand up.
You want to stand up?
It's a hard pill to swallow
Get
for him.
Wallet, just a wallet we just put in there.
Oh. What's this right here? So they won't take the vape down in the jail. Okay.
Where's the lawyer?
Where's your coin purse at?
You just took it.
Oh, that's a vape and a coin purse.
Look, it's in.
Oh, I got you.
I'm just gonna make sure you're okay.
My handcuff in there, or-
Yeah, that's.
So that concludes my commentary on the Chandler Halderson full interrogation. Thank you to Rottweiler Investigations for uploading and hosting this video on YouTube. And thank you all for your attention and for supporting the channel, those of you that do. And have a good day.